Blimey. That noise. Can you hear that noise? Good evening, everybody. I'm just obviously sorting out my tech to make sure that's all good. Just give me 2 seconds. Right, oh God, can you hear that? Can you hear that background noise? I apologize for being late. I'm 4 minutes late. Let me just turn that on. Okay. I assume people can hear that in the background, right? So I'll just give you a second to catch up. So yeah, apologies for being 4 minutes late. This is part of the reason why. The dogs, man, the dogs are kicking off. So they're just bashing the door to get in. They're constant. Making a liver cake. Laurie, that sounds disgusting. Can you hear that? Can you guys pick that up from on the mic? God. All right. So yeah, the dogs are kicking off basically this evening. So I was going to leave them out. Well, the thing is, they're just kicking off. There's no point putting them in the beds because they'll just kick off in their beds. They're kicking off because they want to come in here, but they're not coming in. So, you know, they're not going to get through the door. Well, I assume they're not going to get through the door. Okay, good evening, everybody. Let's get cracking. So, yes, it's, do you know what? One of the things I love about this, I call it a show, but this isn't really a show because it's so unplanned, is the spontaneity, that who knows what's going to happen basically. And yeah, and that's why I'm slightly late this evening, because these guys are absolutely tearing shreds basically, not out of each other but out of the kitchen. So I don't know what's got into them today, but they're just properly going for it. They've been doing it all day. I've actually worked from home today, so I think they'll be slightly worse because of that. But yeah, so I'm just going to let them crack on and kick off if they choose to. Look, another unplastered wall. So yeah, and that's kind of it. So good evening, those of you. I can see the usual suspects are here. So that's all fine. I'm just going to ignore them. I'm just going to let them get on with it. Laurie's saying she's making a liver cake. Oh, it's a training treat for her dogs. Now that's interesting. For those of you who have dogs out there, do you train your dogs with food or with other methods? Because we trained Suki with food, and it was one of the biggest mistakes we made. And with Django, we're training him with a ball. So he does everything for the ball, basically. And we've made a load of mistakes with him, and we've only had him 6 weeks as well. So we're trying to sort of undo those mistakes and kind of teach new ones. So training dogs is it's a science and an art, and so much patience. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing at the moment. So Carl, what's happened this week? So there's a new president. I guess that's big news. So that's obviously a biggie. I saw today that coronavirus is, oh, fucking hell, man. Do you know what I mean? It's just there's talk now that the hospitality industry won't get back until May. So I've said it before. I'll run through it again quickly. All my watchers just told me I'm live. So I'll run through it again quickly about my predictions for it. So I'd expected that the schools would be going back after February half term. Schools would go back, and probably they would end up going back sort of staggered. And I thought between the February half term and the beginning of March, schools will all go back. And from the beginning of March, all schools will be back. So that was the theory. And then they would tier things throughout March, with non-essential retail opening some point sort of first, second week of March, and then everything else opening 1st of April, realistically. And we would just go through it from that point forwards. I don't know that's going to happen quite in the same sense now. I'm sort of changing my tune a little bit. And I can see that the politicians are really trying, I think, to keep certain scientists out of the media, because there's a lot of scientists out there now that are starting to really push forward the idea and the concept. It's not new. It's been around since the day dot that coronavirus isn't going anywhere. COVID is not going anywhere. And we are going to have to learn to live with it and deal with it in the same ways we do with a number of other sicknesses like the flu and stuff like that. So And I think they're trying to keep them out of mainstream media as much as they can, because obviously that's driving this kind of theory of, well, what's the point of having a lockdown if we've got to deal with it anyway, just want to deal with it now. So yeah, and then there's the theory that we won't reopen hospitality until the beginning of May, which is an entire another month. And I just, missing Easter will be a huge hit. I mean, I was doing the finances with our finance manager the other day. It was yesterday, in fairness, sat in the office and running through those. Tuesday, sorry. And we ran through those, and we went through exactly where we are now compared to where we thought we would be, but where we are now, where we're going to be at the end of this month, so sort of in a couple of weeks, or in a week and a bit, where we're going to be in the middle of February, where we're going to be the end of February, 1st of March, because we always do an end of the month, 1st of the month, because there's a big difference between those 2 days, as I'm sure it's like for most people's bank balances. Where we're going to be in the middle of March, where we're going to be at the end of March, and where we're going to be on the 1st of April. And for us, that was the key point, because I've been saying to my team, guys, we're opening 1st of April. So then we knew where we were financially. We know what's going out. We know what's coming in. Fuck all. There's very little coming in. So it was we could gauge, and from that position we can then really plan quite heavily what we're going to do. So we're setting aside different amounts of money for different projects. I think there's 3 lots of there's 2 lots of about £13,000 set aside, and 1 lot of about £18,000 set aside for very specific projects that we want to do, ready for when we reopen, or 2 for when we reopen, and 1 for a new business that we're kicking off shortly. So kind of that's all about how we're going to plan it, and pushing back another month that's going to have a huge impact on us, a massive impact, especially losing Easter, if we did lose Easter, because that's a really busy time for us. And this also, the spring is the kickoff for us for the summer months, so that's going to be quite a tough one. And we're just going to monitor that and see where that goes really over the next couple of weeks. I don't think anyone knows what the hell is going to happen until realistically we get towards February half term. So I think we've got another 3 weeks of unknown, of kind of guesswork, really. And I think that's the same for the government and everybody, before we get a clear idea of what the hell's going to happen. So we'll see how that plans out. But I've planned it as best as we possibly can. I'm pretty confident that we've got it right. I'm pretty confident that we're going to see this through. There's going to be some challenges towards the end of the year, I think, for other reasons, around the purchasing of the jails, but that's a different thing. So that was kind of a Tuesday. Did Graham's live Wednesday, so that was really good. I'll come on to the comments in a second. I want to get pulled away from those. So did Graham's live Wednesday. I've been chatting to a couple of studio technicians about the studio side of things and the new business we're starting, and about what we need to do with that and the technology, and really want to drive forwards a better version of technology for when we do all the studio stuff, all the virtual things, because we're starting to now sell really strong virtual tours to schools and groups and stuff like that. So really getting that moving. I've got an absolute diamond geezer, diamond business coming online in the next couple of weeks. I think I'll be able to announce it. It won't be fully in this operation, but I think it'll be far enough along the lines that I can talk about it. I can say what it is. I can show off a website and really start showing off kind of what it's going to do and how it works. So I think that's a couple of weeks away. So that's been the first part of this week. I worked from home today, partly because I had a number of different meetings that were just easier to do from home, randomly enough, but also I really wanted to get this video done about working from home. And there's a couple of people that have been sort of saying to me, we're waiting for this video, where's this video? And I know I'm a nightmare for saying, hey, this video is going to drop, and it just never appears. So I wanted to work from home again today, so I could just kind of reignite myself, or reconnect myself with what it's like working from home, and what I enjoy about it and what I don't enjoy about it. And now I can crack on and do that video. So that will come out very shortly. I was going to try and film it earlier today, but I didn't have an opportunity because working from home is just a bit chaotic. So that was that. Dog's going mental. So I don't know why. Django's normally the one that kicks off. So normally he's like rah, 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 just a million miles an hour being a puppy. Suki's quite calm and content, but today Suki's been absolutely flipping out. You can hear her. She's just been doing this all day. She never barks. So I don't really know what's up with her, but she's kicking off, and I'm not going to let them in because that's what she wants. So she wants to come in here. She wants to look around, and I ain't having it. I've got my cup of tea. I'll pick that up quickly and I'll come back to all the comments. New Year's resolutions. If you haven't seen my New Year's resolution video, it's on my Instagram. It's in my Facebook. I set myself three goals for this for the first part of the new year, which is my health, my businesses, and my family. Health is going really well. So we're on the 21st of January. I was obviously ill a couple of days before. So for 22 days now, no sugar, no alcohol, no cakes, no chocolates, no biscuits, no crisps, nothing like that. I've actually been eating lots of fruit, lots of vegetables. I think I'm down 4 kilos so far. Exercising pretty much every day, certainly 5 to 6 days a week. My God, that dog is literally, she breaks the door. Like, you're in for a real premiere, never seen before video this evening, because if that dog breaks the door, my wife is gonna go mad, like absolutely losing it. I'll just spin the camera and you can just watch it. So I've been exercising pretty much every day. It's only 5 to 6 days a week. And I'm going to plow on to the end of January, and I'm aiming to get another 3 kilos off. I think it's going to be quite a target in sort of the next week or so. But what will actually happen, because Emma and I are both doing the same thing, we'd said that we wouldn't. We're both pretty much setting the same sort of goal for health, or the same goal is. We can start eating again from February from like things like sugar basically, and start drinking. But because that's on a Monday, I think actually what will happen is it'll be next Thursday, no, the Thursday after. So it's still 2 weeks away today, where I will have my first drink. So I've got a couple of weeks yet. It's Emma's birthday next Thursday, so she's also having a lockdown birthday and realised today she can't have cake. But yeah, so that was that really. Businesses are moving okay, like I say. There's lots happening. There's lots happening. But if you just joined, that is my dogs. That is my dogs kicking off. And obviously we've got the new one starting. I'll talk more about the business and some of the stuff I'm doing with the media company in a second, and with our websites and our logos and stuff like that. And yeah, I've been spending more time with the kids, and trying to spend more quality time with the kids, not so much time, but more quality time with them. And I think that's quite a key aspect to that presenteeism bit. But anyway, let me pick up on some of the comments because I can see them flicking through. Just go back. I was late, Laurie, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I saw that Northern Ireland is staying in lockdown till March, so it makes you wonder when we're going to be out of lockdown. I don't think the government have really been unclear about that. I think they've been quite clear about lockdown. We're not going to do anything until February half term. And if history repeats itself as it has done previously, we're not just going to go February half term, boom, there we go. It's going to be another couple of weeks and go on trying to get schools back and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a while. Oh, see, this is interesting, Diane. Diane's just put in here about her daughter who's 16, is really struggling by being home all day with non-stop schooling and no social interaction with her friends. And I get that. I do understand. I can remember being 16, and I come from a village in the countryside, so I was out playing all day. And actually, when I was 16, during my GCSEs, I worked full time. I can remember going into school and doing my maths GCSE in the morning, leaving school. I can't remember what time it was, but it wasn't late. I think GCSE was like 9:30 or something like that. It was an hour and a half. I was out of school by 11:30. I was at the pub for 10 to 12, and I worked an afternoon shift. So like that's kind of how I was doing it. But yeah, I get that's tough. Really hard not seeing your friends. That is the biggest impact for my two kids, absolutely, and for Emma, is not seeing other people, because they're so used to interacting with loads of other people, loads of home ed families and loads of other children, and going places. I mean, home education isn't education at home. That's a massive mistake that people think. So what we do in terms of home edding isn't Emma and the kids at home every day. It's not. They're out and about all over the place. They're in museums. They'll go off to Birmingham for the day and do museums and different activities there. They'll go off to Manchester. They might spend a couple of days away. They'll go off with friends. They'll go on walks. They'll go on forestry. They do loads of different groups. So actually, they don't spend huge amounts of time at home. And obviously, that's a big change for them. So I totally get that. But I would say don't panic about the schoolwork. And certainly, if your kids are if you're homeschooling, if you're doing stuff with your kids at home, doesn't matter what age they are, don't panic about the schoolwork, because it really, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. And I would love people to challenge me on that one if you think differently, because I love having that conversation about actually how much school and schoolwork does not matter. It doesn't. It really does not. And there's so many instances I think I can give of where I can showcase that all the way through. So yeah, but I do appreciate that's difficult. Thank God, Jesus, thank God these kids, Diane, thank God your child lives in a world where technology is so good that you can text your mates, or you can FaceTime your mates, or you can go on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok and just absorb content. Could you guys imagine? And I'm sure most of you on here, in fact, all of you on here will be of a similar age to me, if not older. Could you imagine if we were having a lockdown like this, like 20 years ago? Like if I was 16, so 21 years ago, if we're having a lockdown, the difference, I mean, no computers, no phones, none of this, like we'd just be sat at home all day, with 4 channels, 4 TV channels, or 5, I think was out by that point. Such a different world. So yeah, right, let me move down the comments. I love that, Louise. Louise says that she's lucky to be working throughout all of lockdown. Otherwise it would have affected her mental health. Yeah, I totally get that. I absolutely understand that. I think it's really difficult for people on furlough and people at home not working, because what do you do all day? And that's why I'm not keen on home working, because it's really easy to get into a bad routine. It's really hard to motivate yourself in a different way when you haven't got the same, I say, boundaries of life. I guess the same. I don't know. It's a tricky one, because I don't want to contradict myself. But anyway, let me just have a quick look. Jill, dog consent spirits. Do you know what? It's really interesting, my house, because it's an old schoolhouse. So I'm pretty sure it's got a element of hauntedness in it, hauntedness of paranormal. It was a schoolhouse since 1815. It was built. So it's Georgian. It was a schoolhouse for years. Now, I'm sure, being in a village, it was a pretty good schoolhouse. I don't think it was, torturous or tormented. I don't think there were cupboards that they put kids in and stuff like that. It was a pretty good house. But then they got converted in 78. The guy that converted it died. I don't think he died in the house, but he died of a brain aneurysm, brain tumor, unfortunately. Then the couple that bought it in 1982, I think 1982, 83, the year I think it was 82, the year before I was born. They bought this house and they were in here until 2017. Yeah, and they both passed away, again, not in the house, somewhere else. But yeah, it's got a lot of feeling, but it's a good feeling. It's not a bad feeling. There's some bad feelings in the prison, but yeah, this is not a bad one. So so that might be what the dog's kicking off at. Personally, I just think she wants to come sit in the front room. Morris, my neighbour has a man cave shed complete with wood burner built in his garden so he can work from home. Can I speak to James about getting up off his ass and make a cuppa? James, go make Keely a cup of tea. Go on. Hello, Paul. I spoke to Paul earlier. He was one of the guys that I spoke to earlier about studios. So that was really useful. Really, really good knowledge that he was able to pass over to me. Oh, bloody dogs. So I'm just flicking through. I tell you what, if something walks past me now, that's going to freak me out if the dog's kicking off. Amelia's here. She says she's fascinated with the prison. I do talk about the prison here, but this is a completely different sort of style, as people are telling you in my talks. It's ridiculous. Oh, you have to do tours at my house. Yeah, well, there was already comments, wasn't there, about of having, because I've got the pool, having a pool party at Joel's, a live Join Joel at my house. I haven't run that one past Emma yet. But yeah, live Join Joel. Could you imagine that? Like, people just sat out in the garden whilst I wander around talking. It would be so weird. My neighbours would be like, "What the fuck is going on here?" James, come on, man, go make her a cup of tea, James. Go on. Go on, James. Do it. It would not be cool if it goes to past me, Teresa. That would be far, far from cool. Do you know what? I actually think if that dog continues, she will possibly break the door. Right, let me talk to you about prisons, because I want to talk about some of the exciting things that are happening, because I don't get to say them that much to people in the outside world, only internally with the marketing team and stuff like that. So I'm just drinking tea. Okay, so we've got new websites coming. So the Shrewsbury website has been completely, well, both websites have been completely redone. Shrewsbury website has been designed. All of the content is in. I've seen the designs. I've been through them with a fine tooth comb with the marketing team. They've all been signed off. It is moving now to build. So it's currently with a team that are building it. So that's really good. We're doing the content at the moment for the Shepton website. And that's going to go over to them, and then we'll get the designs for Shepton, we'll get those signed off, and then that's going to go to build. So both websites are on their way, and they'll be coming at the same time. We're just doing one and obviously the other. Our membership scheme, or our annual passes, is moving along. Harry and I have been meeting about that and discussing about what the annual passes should include, what they should look like, how much they're going to cost, how we'll roll them out, who they're targeted at, because I don't think that our annual passes will be particularly targeted for people far away from the prisons. I think it's more of a local thing, and about how we're going to add loads of value to that, and those kind of things. So those are done. Really, really exciting. Morris, don't say a word, or don't show anything. But we've got new brands, new feels, new feels. Oh my god, new brands, new identities, new feel for both the prisons. We are moving away from the old logo, and we are going into a new world, let's say. And I'm incredibly excited about that. There is so much amazing work that's gone into it, both by my team, by the prison teams, by the media company that we work with. And it's looking really, really good. Really happy. Shrewsbury's is completely signed off. Trademarking went in on Monday, I think it was. I put the trademarks in. Might be Friday. I think it was Monday. Anyway, the trademark has gone in, so I've put in the trademark registrations. So that's looking really good. Shepton, I sent out the initial drafts of the logos today to the team. So they've all been seen internally. Morris has seen them. He's here tonight. You can probably see his comments. They've had some really good feedback, some fine tuning to do with those. Then we'll get those onto trademarking, and then we'll be purchasing. We'll be purchasing. We already own them. We'll be launching them, and we'll be drip feeding that over a number of days so people can sort of see it, and having a bit of fun with how those logos are presented. But I think you're really, really going to like them for both Shepton and for Shrewsbury. And behind that, I'm going to be releasing our plans, if you will, our phasing for the development of Shrewsbury Prison, and our phasing for the development of Shepton Mallet Prison, and what that looks like and how we would like to do that. It's in an ideal world, I'm going to say, because there is a leveling here, because obviously it's got to be funded, it's got to be paid for. So in an ideal world, this is the timing we would do it in. And we're obviously going to have to manage those time frames based on what's going on. But some really good stuff there. I've got the Lauren has got the construction company going in. I think they're going week after next. They've been in doing meetings last week, and this week. They've been in doing further site recce's, further site surveys, doing the construction plans, just getting it all signed off, and they're ready to go in week after next to crack on and do the visitor centre. So the visitor centre is going to be done at Shrewsbury Prison. I know the museum cabinet's already on site. They've already been done and sorted. They've got a bit of wiring to be done, but they're there. So as soon as the visitor centre is sorted out, which includes the entry, the exit, the gift shop, the museum, it's a big space. It's all going to look really good. The entry will be completely different coming into the jail then. The journey through the jail is going to be very different. It's going to flow much better. So that's looking really good. There's loads of interpretation spaces already now operating at Shrewsbury that have been done. They've rebuilt and redesigned some of them. They've redecorated some of them. I've got an amazing piece of kit actually just out there, which Lauren purchased the other day, which is an executioner's scales. So it's the set of scales that an executioner would have used to weigh. They would put sandbags on, basically. So if the condemned man was, let's say, 80 kilos, then the executioner would have used a set of scales. He would have hung sandbags on the scales up to the weight of 80 kilos, and then he would have gone and put those on the rope overnight to stretch the rope out and get rid of any frays or anything like that. So I've got a set of those scales just through that door there, which just need cleaning up and tidying up, and then obviously going into dressing room. So some really good stuff happening at jails. I really can't talk about that enough. Again, same stuff at Shepton. I was chatting with Charlie earlier this week. We were talking about the interpretation spaces they're putting, where they're going. We were talking about things like the hotel we want to put, like loads and loads of stuff that we're chatting about. So that's coming together really, really nicely. Bit different for Shepton because I'm not there, and it needs a little bit more investment. But yeah, it's moving really nicely. And I've been obviously working on the new business as well, which I am very, very excited about. And one of the things that's really happened with this entire transition is I've moved very much away from any day-to-day operations of the jail. I mean, let's be honest, there aren't a lot at the moment because obviously we're closed. But I've moved away from day-to-day operations of the jail. Having the 2 duty managers in makes a massive difference because they can support the managers in the day-to-day running. And that means I'm concentrating more on the new business. And from kind of next week, I'll probably be trying to split my time about 40% on the new business, 60% on our existing businesses and what we're doing. And then I think over the next couple of weeks, I'll be sort of adjusting that by sort of 5 to 10%. Until I get to probably the other way around, where I'm spending about sort of 60 to 70% time on our new business and 30 to 40% time on the old ones. So yeah, so lots happening in that sense. I'm trying to think what else there is that's going on off the top of my head. I think that's kind of it, really. I'll pick up the comments quickly. Let's have a quick look. Morris, mum's the word. So I'm just reading the comments. How much were the annual passes? I don't know is the honest answer, Laurie. If I'm brutally honest, I wouldn't want to quote that just at the moment. There's a couple of ideas around what cost they'll be. They're not going to be overly expensive. Obviously, they'll be more than a self-guided tour visit. But I don't think they're going to be massively expensive. They're certainly not going to be out the realms of purchasing. And I think when we launch them, we'll probably do some special offers, and I think we'll do some local offers as well, some sort of postcodal offers to support people locally. And again, it's it's about getting people in through the site, in through the doors. And you all right? What's he doing? Oh, check him out. Don't know if you heard that. Puppy's trying to go to the toilet on the floor, so Delaney's going to put him outside. So that was a good catch. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure on exactly what the cost is going to be. We've got some ballpark figures, like I say. Really, what we've been working on is the inclusion of what's in it. Did you get him outside? You okay? You got a torch? Okay. My 9-year-old is 9 going on 30 in some instances, and a 9 going on 4 in others. But she's brilliant with the dogs. She's up most mornings and getting them outside. She's really good at getting the dogs out and going to the toilet and spending time with them. And she really wants to learn how to train them and stuff like that. So she's really good like that. Back to memberships. So memberships. We're talking about, obviously there'll be the access to the prison. There'll be discounts on everything else we do, and then the resources section, which we've really been looking at in terms of adding more to that. To be able to connect with the likes of Morris or Graham and ask different questions and have things like that come through, and just a huge resources section that we'll have in there for people. So yeah, that's going to be good, but just give us some time on that one because it takes time to build and plan. Let's have a quick look. The websites will be out. I reckon the websites will be live middle of March is the plan. So I think they're due on the 9th of March, but I reckon they'll be about the 15th, but they'll definitely be in March. Will Join Joel devotees get a discount? Yeah, I think so. I reckon those of you that are generally here will be able to get. I'll probably just give them to you all, to be honest. Shh, don't tell Harriet. Oh, Laurie's flagged something. I didn't even realize if this was a fraudulent slip or not. But she's asked about you own them. She says, "I thought you only owned Shrewsbury, or have you kept Shepton a secret?" No, we don't own Shepton at the moment. There's different plans for what I'd like to do with Shepton. We haven't actually completed on Shrewsbury yet, so we don't actually own all of Shrewsbury yet. I mean, we will do, and I think that's going to be the biggest challenge this year, because the deal I structured with the owners was buying it over a period of time. So we've already made the first payments, if you will. We've already made the first step, quite a hefty step of a few $100,000 is already gone into that, with the rest of the remaining sum due basically at the end of this year. So I've got 12 months to put ourselves into the position that we need to be in. It's going to be a stretch because, well, it's going to be a stretch because COVID is just, everything's just up in the air. So I'm confident we'll get there. I don't have really a thought process that we won't. I have a backup plan if we don't, but I just, I don't see it happening. So it'd be silly for me not to have a backup plan, but I really don't see it happening. COVID will obviously, dictate to a degree some of this, but I think we'll be okay. And Shepton, I will release plans for later in the next couple of months. Join Joel hoodies. No plans for those yet, but we'll have a look. We'll have a look at what we can do. Jill, can't wait to hear about your plans. You've so much scope with the prison. Yeah, lots of scope, lots of cost. Does anybody? I think I've mentioned it before. Does anybody want to take a guess at how much it costs just to remove the asbestos from Shepton Prison? It's got quite a lot of asbestos, whereas Shrewsbury doesn't. So yeah, chuck in the comments how much you think it's going to cost just to remove the asbestos from Shepton Prison, which has to happen before any works can happen. It's the first step, really. Sorry, just having a quick flick through. When is LSJ going live again? Do you know what? I've knocked LSJ on the head. I love Lauren, I love Stacey, but man, do they piss me off. I find it really, really hard with the not planning things. Despite this show being all over the place, it is relentless in the sense of it is every Thursday, 8 o'clock. It has been for the last 35 weeks. Even when I was ill, I know it was only a couple of minutes, but I still jumped on and said, "Hey, how's it going?" I've been out at friends' houses having dinner, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to have to dip out for half an hour because I've got to do my Join Joel." And I told my wife that before, when she said, "Oh, we're going out to friends for dinner on a Thursday." I was like, "That's fine, but I've got my Join Joel." I've done it in hotel rooms when I've been on work visits. I did it Christmas Eve. Do you know what I mean? Or the day before, yeah, I think it was Christmas Eve. My parents were supposed to be or whatever else. So, I'm solid like that. And Lauren and Stacey they have other things in their life which pull them away, and kids, obviously, which makes it harder. But I need regularity. And I think with a show, whatever the show is, you need to have consistency of when you're doing it. So I've kind of knocked LSJ on the head because they can't, unfortunately, give the consistency that we need in terms of timing. And I don't have the time. I do not have the time or the inclination or the will to faff around with things in my life. That's not the way I'm focused now. I used to do that in my 20s, but that's not where I'm focused. I've got a very clear direction. So new business I'm not talking about yet, or not in depth. You pick up on bits as we go along, I'm sure. And there's some people on here that know a lot more about it because I've been speaking to them about it. But it's I'll talk about that as it grows. I wouldn't want to run a business right now. Yeah, but then I'm not sure I'd want to be employed by somebody else. I'm not sure I'd want someone else controlling my own destiny. The comments are coming in. Right. Laurie has chucked up £32,000. Rachel's chucked up £40,000. Diane's put up £150,000. Is this what you guys are investing? Paul's put up £750,000. James has got a stupid amount, 50K. Jill 120, Kerry a couple of thousand, Jesus. Donna 130. Morris is put up 500,000. Now Morris cheats. Morris is cheating because Morris hears these figures at site, so he knows the answers. But yeah, to remove the asbestos from Shepton Mallet Prison, you're talking a cool £500,000. There won't be any change from £500,000. We have seen quotes as high as Paul's figure of nearly 750. We've seen them at 700,000. But yeah, realistically, we're talking about £500,000 to remove the asbestos from Shepton Prison. And it's not, if you visit, it's not dangerous. I promise you, it is not dangerous, because it's all encapsulated, it's all within the walls, and there's an entire building. So one of the modern buildings that was built in the 70s, which is a building we want to demolish and get rid of altogether, is basically built out of asbestos. Like I said, it's perfectly safe to wander around. There's no problems with it because nothing's been disturbed, but we will obviously need to get it out when we take it down. So it is going to be a huge cost. The same with the workshop building over the road. That is basically every single floor, everything is encapsulated in asbestos. And then even on the wings, I think Morris will be able to clarify it for me, but like A wing, for example, the undercrofts, which is underneath A wing, where all the pipe work is for all the heating systems and water system stuff, it's all encapsulated in asbestos. So it's a huge amount of stuff that has to come out. Shrewsbury, on the other hand, is completely different. It has barely any asbestos in it at all. And yeah, some of the figures you're putting out, sort of the 40-odd thousand kind of figure, is probably our complete asbestos removal option at Shrewsbury, along with a lot of the pipe work, because the only asbestos at Shrewsbury is just encapsulating water tanks. So it's a completely different type. So yeah, not the most exciting conversation, I appreciate, about asbestos, but this is the level that I now work at. Is I'm not working on the sort of day-to-day operational aspects of making sure we've got enough chips, or making sure there's coffee in the machine. It's ensuring that, how are we going to do the phasing of work, what needs to happen first in the development plan, right? We need to get rid of the asbestos. What's the cost of that? What's the next step? What's the next step? How long do we have to close when we do it? All those kind of things, which I think is really exciting, because if I'm working at that level, that means shit's going to start happening. If I'm worrying about, right, we need to make sure we've got coffee in the machine for customers, we need to make sure we've got cake, we need to make sure we've got chips, right? Is the internet working? Is this running? None of the development shit's going to happen, because I'm just concentrating day to day. So, but yeah, you're right. Okay. Sorry, just bear with me. I'm just going to have a quick conversation with my daughter. They're just kicking off, aren't they? Yeah, they're just kicking off. I'll just let them kick off. I'll sort them out in a sec. No major panic. They're not getting through the door, are they? All right. All right, just keep an eye on them. Just keep an eye on them through the door. I'll try not to swear. Okay, right. Let me pick up the last of the questions, and then we're pretty much at the end. I'll do a couple of extra minutes because obviously I was late. What would make your staff have a vaccine to keep their job? Would I make my staff have a vaccine to keep their job? Do you know what? I wouldn't. I would be really disappointed if we have employees that don't want to have the vaccine. I think actually we do have some of our actors on our books that don't want to have it. We're operating something at the moment that I call employee comfort, which is all around, I think I mentioned this the other week, but employee comfort is all around what employees feel comfortable about doing or not doing. So at the moment, we're obviously in lockdown. Now we still have to do building checks. We still have certain work we have to do to the sites. There's obviously construction work happening. There's maintenance work happening. There's building work happening at both of the sites. So we have different people on site at different points, which is all within the rules. We have productions happening as well. So it's all within the rules, but we're not forcing people to work. We're saying to them, if you would like to, we're happy to have you in. As long as there's work to be done, type of stuff. So it's a real balance, but no, we're letting our employees take that decision themselves and tell us what they do or don't want to do effectively. I think we do the same thing with the vaccine. I don't think I would feel comfortable about saying to an employee, you have to have a vaccine before you can come back to work. But I do think that if we had an employee that didn't want to have a vaccine, then I would certainly ensure that I have a one-to-one conversation with them, that Shelley has a one-to-one conversation with them, and we really understand why and make sure that the science of it is put forward. So yeah, I don't think we'll have that, if I'm brutally honest. Morris will tell me different now. Morris will be like, I'm not having it. So Morris seen it because it was taken out the phone. Yeah, Laurie, that's tip of the iceberg, dude. Seriously, like that's just the beginning when you're talking about renovating big buildings. Yeah, Diane's got it. Asbestos is safe as less is disturbed. Yeah, James is right. A lot of it's disposing of it because there's so much of it. It's the disposal costs. Right, so I'm just going to pick up the last ones. Yeah, the photo of the vern, like I think Morris was on the live as well, and Graham was just saying, "Look at this. I mean, it looks amazing." Wait until we show the photo from the other side of it. I will do, yeah. Jill said you should get people to sponsor a cell. Do you know what, Jill? We'd already thought of that. So we did have this idea about should we look at fundraising or crowdfunding at some point, or letting people basically purchase a cell by giving money through a crowdfunding, and they can buy a cell, and then we'll put their name outside of it on a plaque, like on a cell card effectively, and that's Jill Hayden's cell, for example. So we may do that, we may not, I don't know. We'll see how much money we need when we get closer towards the end of the year. But yeah, it's it's certainly an option. I thought when you guys were chucking numbers up a minute ago, that was how much money you were going to chuck into to us buying the prison. I was really happy. Paul's chucked in 750k. Morris has chucked in $500,000 quid. So yeah, we're pretty much there. We're all good. Right, I'm there. The dogs have quietened down because Emma has just gone into the kitchen, so they're probably both in their beds going, oh shit. I'm gonna go say goodnight to my kids. I'm gonna leave it there. I'll do the working from home video. I'm going to do the first world problem video. So I'll get those both done. And yeah, I'll be doing bits and pieces, obviously on site. I mean, back in tomorrow, and then obviously throughout next week, and I'll be back next Thursday. So thank you very much, guys, once again. Laurie's offered to put in a $5. So yeah, so thank you very much once again, guys, and I will catch up with you next week. Take care.